What's going on, guys? It's Elias. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be covering the next generation Honda Civic Type R. How different are we expecting it to be? Is it going to be that much better than the current generation Civic Type R? Is it going to be an improvement, a major improvement, or only a slight tweak here and there? Let's go ahead and talk about that. I'll tell you guys what we know so far, because Honda's always very tight-lipped. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and take a ride and talk about all of that. So if you're interested in learning about the next generation Type R, stay tuned for that. Hit that like button, and as always, question of the day: are you looking forward to the next generation Type R, or are you looking forward to buy the current generation Type R, or are you keeping your current generation Type R? Let me know in the comments what you guys are going to do. I'm still undecided, so your comments are going to let me know what I should be doing. All right, let's go ahead, take that drive, and get started. Alright, so as we set off, what we're going to cover is, first, what we know. Second, what we can speculate and basically guess already. And then third, we're going to be even more speculative and think about what could be coming from Honda and maybe Acura overall. Integra Type R, all-wheel drive, dual clutch transmission, all the goodies. So let me go ahead and strap up here. I'm looking forward to driving my Type R today. It's a beautiful day. It's gonna take me a while, so I'll see you guys in a moment.
One eternity later.
All right, so the next generation Civic Type R. Let's hope it can do that, and I think it will. It's not going to be that much of a departure. Now, I've covered a few of these things already on the previous video that I've released about the 2022 Honda Civic. Now, this is the 2023 Civic Type R that's going to come out, and usually about a year lag between when the Civic gets refreshed or comes out and when the Civic Type R comes out. So, now, it may seem like I'm yelling because the car is very loud in here. I took out a lot of stuff from in here, and I get a lot of engine noise. Alright, so here's what we know about the next generation Civic Type R. It is no longer going to be built in England, because currently every single hatchback that is built for Honda is built in the Swindon plant in England. That plant is closing permanently. So going forward, all hatchbacks will be built in North America. I think in Canada, for the most part, or in Ohio. I'm not sure exactly where it's going to be built next. But everything's coming stateside, and that's good news for us in the United States, and also good news for Honda, because manufacturing in England and shipping to America was actually pretty expensive. So I think Honda is going to be in a better position price-wise to sell the Civic Type R in the United States. That's number one. Number two, is it confirmed? Yes. We have confirmation from people in Honda that there will be a next generation Civic Type R. And besides that, we've already seen spy shots of the Civic Type R, the next generation Civic Type R, being tested on the road. So there we have it. We have confirmation. In addition, there'll be a Civic Si and a regular Civic, of course. So that's what we know so far in terms of what's coming. We don't know exactly when. Expected around sometime at the end of next year. So currently we're in 2021. Sometime in 2022 they will release the Civic Type R, and you could buy it likely towards the end of 2022. That's my prediction. All right then. So the styling of the 11th gen Civic, it's going to look very different than the 10th gen, because what they're going to do is they're going to subdue the design of the 10th gen significantly. If you guys remember when this generation Type R came out, it was a huge deal to all the journalists that, oh, it was too aggressive, it was too much, it was too angular, too many fake vents. angry looking for the Type R. I disagree with them. I love the way this Type R looks. I like the way that's so aggressive. It is distinctly Japanese. The Japanese love this type of styling. Very busy for our Western sensibilities. But have you ever opened a manga, a Japanese comic book? I've never read one, but I have seen them in bookstores, and it looks like an explosion on a page. Well, that's their design philosophy. And so once you understand that, you understand that this is a very, very Japanese design. Basically, they're going to take this design and they're going to subdue it significantly. It's going to be a more grown-up design on the exterior. It's going to be more for the masses. People are going to be able to drive this car and not feel too boy racer, as many journalists said they would feel driving this current generation Type R. I, of course, disagree with those journalists, like I said, but the key is the next generation Type R is likely going to keep the 3 exhaust tips in the back, as well as the giant wing. So while the styling is going to be a little bit more subdued, we're still going to have that giant wing back there. And so it's not really going to be that bad of a design. We'll see how it goes. Let me know in the comments, do you prefer a more subdued styling, or do you like the crazy styling of the Civic Type R? I already shared with you my thoughts. I'd like to see your thoughts. If you disagree with me, let me know. If you agree with me, let me know in the comments. Alright, so what else have they changed? Well, the dimensions of the car are going to stay basically the same. And as I've explained in a previous video, the 2022 Civic video, it's basically going to be the same chassis, the same hard points, the same, pretty much everything is going to stay for the next generation Civic Type R. They're not going to change that much. They're not going to invest that much money into a new architecture when they invested so much already on this current one. So what are they going to spend their money on? Well, for the most part, it's going to be the interior. So a lot of the complaints from the journalists and from everybody else was that the interior was something that needed to be worked on significantly from this generation. I would agree. I mean, it's a lot of cheap plastics, and for a close to $40,000 car, you're not buying luxury when you get into this interior. I'm not saying it's a bad interior, and the stock seats are red seats. These are not the stock seats, but they're great seats. Those stock seats are amazing seats. You can't say anything negative about those seats. But everything else around it is kind of, horrible plastics and what you'd expect from a hot hatch, really. So the money has been invested by Honda into that interior, and I think they're going to start competing with Mazda's interior packages. If you know anything about Mazda recently, they've been really working on their interiors, on their Mazda 3, on their Mazda 6. They've been putting a lot of effort into making sure their interiors are more unique and more luxury than they have been in the past, and it's worked, man. Those interiors are really good for their price point. So I think Honda is going to do the same thing for the next generation Civic and the next generation Civic Type R. So expect a complete refresh of the interior, and that's basically what Honda does. I mean, this is not news to me. Honda always does every other generation being a major change. So the 10th generation was huge. The 11th generation is going to be a kind of a big refresh type of thing. It won't be that crazy, except for the interior. You're going to see a lot of changes in the interior, a lot of improvements in the interior, from infotainment to seat quality to plastics quality. Hopefully less rattles. I mean, not that this thing is rattling because of its fault, but the regular stock Civics do rattle significantly. Now, what else do we think is going to happen? Bag of garbage on the road. What else do we think is going to happen with the drivetrain, for example? Well, a lot of people have been talking about all-wheel drive. I highly doubt that the initial Civic Type R is going to be all-wheel drive. I just don't see Honda doing it. It doesn't make any sense. This car is amazing for being front-wheel drive. There's really not that much of a need for an all-wheel drive variant right away. Now, because there's so much talk around the next Civic Type R being all-wheel drive, I think Honda kind of got the message. So what I do expect to see is some kind of hybridization method going on for an optional Civic Type R, or or something of that that's gonna make it all-wheel drive with electric motors versus throwing a drive shaft back there. One of the reasons why I picked the Civic Type R over, let's say, a WRX STI is because the Type R weighs less than the STI. One of the main reasons is because you don't have an extra drive shaft and two half shafts in the back of the car with a differential back there, adding all that weight to the car. All the weight's in the front. The balance is a little off because of that, but with the chassis tuning and suspension tuning, Honda made a significantly well-balanced machine, even with all the weight up front, and they made it weigh almost nothing compared to its competitors. So, I don't see them adding a drive shaft necessarily for all-wheel drive. What I do see them adding is probably some kind of hybrid all-wheel drive system at a later date. I don't think the first generation 11th or the first iteration of the 11th Gen Type R is gonna be that different from this one. So, the drivetrain again is gonna be the same engine as this one. It's been the same engine since the FK2 Civic Type R from a few years ago. And they're going to continue that engine. They may bump the power up in the United States to 320 because in Europe it's already at 320. So there's no reason not to bump it up to 320, even if it's just on paper. Maybe throw a little boost into it. Maybe some slight revisions here and there. Maybe they'll continue to improve on the overheating issue. I doubt that, but we'll see what they do. Now, so we're keeping the 2-liter engine. They may add hybrid to it. How about transmissions? Well, expect it to have the beautiful manual transmission. Now, I know a lot of us have had issues with our manual transmissions, with grinding, things like that. Are they going to fix that problem going forward? I'm expecting, or I'm hoping that they will. I do have my doubts, however, because Honda just likes to ignore it. They're like, that transmission's good enough. If you slow down your shifting, it won't grind, right? And I'm like, well, I guess you could also do a bunch of modifications, like change your transmission fluid to Synchromesh FM, to GM Synchromesh FM. You can get the Acuity Shifter upgrades. You can change the clutch master cylinder, like I have. Do all those things, and it'll go a long way to mitigating any issues with the transmission. So we're probably gonna have the same exact transmission in the next generation Type R, but there are also, I don't know if there's rumors, but I'm pretty sure Honda is looking at putting a dual clutch transmission option on the Civic Type R. Now, the reason I say this is because the 2-liter turbo from this car, slightly detuned, can be found in the Acura models with dual clutch transmissions. Acura has an 8-speed dual clutch that's pretty decent, actually. It's in the ILX, it's in the TLX, it's in the RDX, it's in a bunch of different vehicles, and I don't see why they wouldn't offer it into the next Civic Type R. I think that might be an option. So if you're looking for an automatic Civic Type R, if you hold off long enough, I think it might happen. So the last thing I'll say is that the Civic Type R may stay exactly the same as this Civic Type R in terms of the drivetrain and transmission. Only manual, only front-wheel drive, with slight tweaks to the exterior, right, and big tweaks to the interior. That is pretty much definite. What could happen would be that Acura, since it's currently getting its mojo back, would come out with an Integra Type R or an RSX Type R. I mean, how cool would that be, right? An RSX or an Integra Type R with the same basic architecture and technology of this Type R, just in a more svelte and more luxurious Acura. I mean, I'd probably get one. I mean, I gotta say, I would probably get one. What do you guys think about my thoughts on an Acura Integra Type R? Would you buy one if they had one available? Would you consider one? Or would you keep your Civic Type R or buy the 11th Gen Civic Type R? That'd be a hard choice for me. So the question I've been asked is, will I be upgrading from my Civic Type R to the next Civic Type R? Well, I think the answer to that is this car is no longer a stock Civic Type R. This is a race car. I'm going to be installing a fuel cell at some point here. I'm going to be just keep on modifying this to race it on endurance races, AER, grid life, wheel-to-wheel racing. I mean, all kinds of stuff. We're going to have fun with my Civic Type R. So can't really upgrade this. I can't get rid of it. It's already basically built as a race car. But would I get the next gen Civic Type R? I am considering it. But I'm more interested to see if Acura comes out with its version of the Civic Type R. That is something I'm very interested in. And hell, maybe I'll even consider getting a DCT Integra Type R or RSX Type R. I don't know. I know that's sacrilege for a lot of you guys, but I already have a manual S2000. I have a manual WRX. I have a manual Civic Type R. I have a Corvette, a C8 Corvette with a DCT, and man, that thing is a revelation. It's an awesome transmission. So I'm kind of being converted over to love DCT. Here. We're in my favorite roads. Oh man, front traction on this thing. All right, I gotta stop. I gotta stop having so much fun. Or not. Yeah. Love the manual, don't get me wrong, but a DCT with the same engine, with the same power as this thing, hopefully strong enough where I can tune it a little bit with the KTUNER or Honda. Yeah, that's very interesting to me. So I'll be on the lookout to see what's going on. Let me know again what you guys think. What do you guys predict for the next Civic Type R? Are you looking forward to it? And let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you next time. Peace out.